Mr. Gareth.
Well, Madam Deputy Speaker, always a pleasure to see you in the chair. Let me begin by thanking members from across the House for their contributions to this debate on this finance bill. Before I address some of the specific points raised, let me briefly reflect on what this bill is seeking to achieve. It's a bill for a budget that rewards work, that sends a clear message to working people across the country that we support you. We want your work to pay, and we want you to have more money in your pocket at the end of the working day. We want to continue to make this country a great place to live, work and invest, and to provide our key growth industries with the support and incentives they need to continue to thrive. Taken together, these policies will drive economic growth and productivity for years to come by focusing on workforce participation and stimulating business investment. And despite going through an incredibly difficult time these past years, with a global pandemic and a war in mainland Europe, our economy has now turned a corner. Inflation is down from its peak of 11% to 3.2%. Real wages are now consistently rising, and despite high interest rates, our economy is growing. Because of the action that we have taken over the past few fiscal events and the plan that we've put in place, always important to have a plan, Madam Deputy Speaker, this bill continues our work to execute on that plan. The bill will support hard-working parents by increasing the high-income child benefit charge threshold and taper, taking 170,000 families out of paying this tax charge, with almost 500,000 families gaining an average of £1,260 towards the cost of raising their children. My honourable friend for Amber Valley made some thoughtful remarks on our intention to move to a household basis. These are remarks that we will absolutely take on board. As he's aware and mentioned, we will be consulting on this in a very short period of time, and his points will be taken on board in that process too. My honourable friend for the cities of London and Westminster pointed out that this bill will encourage investment in our world-leading creative industries, a key growth sector for the UK, with a new tax relief for UK-made independent films. It will permanently increase the rates of tax reliefs for theatres, orchestras, museums and galleries, backing British talent on film and stage, because we'll always champion our creative industries, which remain the envy of the world. But she made some very specific points and specific challenges, particularly on immersive audiences. And I can tell her that production will qualify for theatre tax relief if the main purpose of the audience is to observe. Some level of audience participation will not necessarily disqualify a production, but it can be the main. It can't be the main purpose. I can tell her that further guidance will be issued by the Treasury, and I know my honourable friend, the Financial Secretary, would be happy to meet with her to discuss the specific issues that her constituents are facing. My honourable friend for Waveney has been a consistent champion for the oil and gas industry, and quite right too. He acknowledged that this bill will provide more certainty to investors in the oil and gas industry and the finance industry that lends for investment by putting the Energy Security Investment Mechanism into legislation. The ESIM operates on the principle, a very basic principle, that it's only right that when prices of oil and gas come down to normal levels, so too should the tax on exceptional profits. This gives certainty to industry and brings more fairness too. Now, my honourable friend for North East Bedfordshire made a typically constructive and, if I may say, creative speech. He made a number of points, but in particular his support for our national insurance contribution cuts was very much appreciated. He's right to highlight what is an underappreciated policy on auto-enrolment, which has seen 10.3 million people brought into saving for a pension. 86% of private pension savers are now participating more than they were before, and we will look closely and work with him on his specific suggestion as relates to national insurance contributions to boost savings. We all want that savings culture in this country to grow and grow, and we are always open to suggestions. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, on these national insurance contributions, which of course had its separate bill but continues to be a subject of debate in these Treasury discussions, the opposition's suggestion that our ambition to remove the double tax on work is some kind of unfunded policy needs to be addressed. Let me be clear. This is an ambition. It's obviously not happening overnight, but if you look at what we've done over the last 6 months for hardworking people across the country, we have cut national insurance contributions by 30%, all while increasing pensions by 8.5% and providing record funding for our NHS. In fact, this point about having an ambition in public policy is not new. In 2010, we set out a long-term ambition to raise the personal allowance to £10,000, which we didn't just meet, we exceeded it to now over £12,500, as acknowledged by my honourable friends for Amber Valley and North East Bedfordshire. It's important to set out a direction of travel for the British people, to show ambition for what you actually want to do in government. But when it comes to Labour, not only do they not have any long-term ambitions, but none of their ambitions seem to last very long. They talk about change, but the only change the Labour Party offer is a change of their own policies, week after week after week after week. And Madam Deputy Speaker, that's just weak. Labour's policies are so weak and so vague that even their righteous moral compass can't find a direction. But there are a few glimmers of what a Labour government may look like, what 5 years of hard labour may look like. We know, for example, that Labour's embattled deputy leader and the trade unions' 70 new regulations will hamper businesses' ability to hire, stifle their ability to grow, reduce job opportunities and unleash waves of low-threshold, zero-warning strikes on hard-working British people. They call it a New Deal, but let's face it, it's a raw deal for business and workers across this country. I haven't even mentioned the things that Labour Party are actually doing today where they are actually in charge. So let's just quickly go through those. 20-mile-an-hour zones, limited rates relief and longer NHS waiting lists, all in Labour-run Wales. A bankrupt council, adult social care budgets cut and council taxes up by 21%, all in Labour-run Birmingham. Knife crime up, relentless RMT strikes and a cruel ULEZ tax on motorists, all in Labour-run London. So, Madam Deputy Speaker, you'll forgive me if I won't take lectures from the party opposite. So, in conclusion, while we on this side of the House are delivering a finance bill that will see us move forward with the government's plan to support long-term growth, encouraging people into work, boosting investment and ensuring hard-working taxpayers keep as much money of their money as possible, we on this side of the House choose aspiration over envy and ambition over declinism. For these reasons and more, I commend this bill to the House.